decent position. I mean, this is pretty much the point where 99% of ladder players, myself included, are going to lose the majority of their games versus Elf. And notice the first things Focus did when he realized that this fight was coming. He set himself up in a position where he's near his shop. He's got a speed scroll has gone off. He's got peons. His wood peons are with him, which are going to help spread out the Spirit Link damage. And notice how he's going to keep his Torn Chieftain using F2 is an important little micro note. Using F2 to control the Torn Chieftain separately, he's going to do his best to keep him away from the Blade Master, because he knows that every wave is going to count when he only has a level 1 shockwave. So it's 9:50 on my game. I'm going to unpause, and I want you guys to unpause in 3, 2, 1, unpause. Again, Spirit Link going off. Blade Master, like I said, it's key to focus it when he doesn't have the Potion of Invulnerability. The greatest thing about focusing this Demon Hunter, he has the Scroll of Healing, so he can choose to either use it as a healing potion, at which point it's a huge waste of a Scroll of Healing, or he can just let it die, which he chose to do, and not waste the Scroll of Healing. But either way, it's in the Elf's favor, in the Orc's favor to focus that down. The Spirit Linked peons are key, because I think Hanf does have the army advantage at this point. He does not have the hero advantage, he does have the army advantage. But that does help spread out the damage significantly. Torn Chieftain hits level 3 here. 2 Elf heroes down, but the Tinker's leveling fairly quickly. You're seeing the damage. Raiders are pretty much all dead. Grunts are pretty much all dead. He's fighting with peons, basically. Peons, a Grunt, and a Walker. A Raider and a Walker. So this has been a very, very close battle, despite the fact that this is what I said, Focus did have the hero advantage and probably had map control up to this point. And this is obviously what's so frustrating for Elf players, for Orc players everywhere, is, why can I have map control and hero advantage and still lose the game? It's because you're fighting out of position when you don't necessarily want to be fighting, and that's a pretty perfect example of when that'll happen to you in a ladder game. So, excellent timing by Hanf. I think it would have been a lot better for him to have a Potion of Vulnerability, but that was grabbed, I believe, by Focus. Yes, it was. So it's denied to him. So obviously, again, mentioning this, what you can deny by buying from them. If you buy it, they can't buy it. Obviously, that's a very good thing. So the heroes go down, and he's able to win that battle. Terrible advice that people give versus dots, and usually it's Elf players that give this advice, which makes me laugh. They say focus the dots, don't focus the heroes. No. Focus the dots when you can focus the dots, focus the heroes when you can focus the heroes. If you focus just the dots, the heroes, the Tri-Hero will level up insanely, and a high-level Demon Hunter, I don't care what your army is, if you hit level 6 on the Demon Hunter, you're probably going to lose the game if you're the Orc player. High-level Pocket Factory is another thing that will absolutely kill you, especially if they can get to your base and put it down and have a lot of the, whatever they're called, the Tinker spawns. If they can have a lot of those out, again, you're in trouble. So looking at army size, 50 versus 50, I'm pretty sure Focus won that last fight fairly convincingly, so you have to ask yourself, why is the army size close again? The answer to that is essentially that dots are incredibly cheap, and that it was only level 1 heroes that died, or level 2 in one case, I think. So it was fairly easy to replace that army. And the Elf's basically right back in the game. I mean, Focus, despite the fact that I think he's had map control for most of the game, despite the fact that he's definitely crept more and has more experience, he still has not won this game. And actually, if you look at hero levels, 3-3-2 versus 4-3, almost 4-4. So I'd say hero levels are also very, very close. And now Hanf has access to the Potion of Greater Invulnerability and Healing Scrolls, which you'll notice he has on the Tinker. Again, Focus, using the hit and run. If you have to use a speed scroll, use a speed scroll. If you don't have a speed scroll, don't use a speed scroll. If you don't have to use a speed scroll, don't use a speed scroll. And if you have to port, you can port, which I think he does. Yeah, he has to port here. But you'll see, I think he got a Moonwell, maybe even 2. Definitely got the shop. So switching over 50 food for Hanf, 50 for 50. Focus is 55 for 60, and again with an expansion going up at the red camp. Despite the fact that Focus has food advantage, he's still definitely not out of the water. It's still a very close game, and if he fights in bad position, he's going to feel a lot of hurt, and he could still easily lose this game. Is this imbalanced? No, I don't necessarily think so, especially because he's going to choose not to fight in good position, and he's going to, I mean, here, very important distinction. He's seen the elf army, because the elf army went to his shop. He knows he can't get to the elf space before the elf can get to his, but he decides to flank him. I think initially he was going to go to the elf space and try and force the elf to port back and then run. Instead, he gets into a very good position by flanking the elf instead of waiting for him in the elf space. Once again, the wood peons come out. Here's where the fight is important and interesting. Keeping the Demon Hunter ensnared, as you can see. Every time the Demon Hunter gets near the Tauren Chieftain, he gets ensnared. The walkers are focusing down the pocket factory. That's an incredibly good wave across the trees. You can't mana burn across the trees. You can't shockwave across the trees, though. So healing scroll goes off. I mean, just the positioning for focusing this fight was ideal, to say the least. He tricked him into fighting backwards, which basically meant that his Demon Hunter was as far away as possible from the Tauren Chieftain. He got a free wave off early on, and Spirit Link has done its thing. The healing scrolls have done its thing. Notice again, he's controlling the Tauren Chieftain with Endurance Aura and F2. Remember, F2 individually controls your second hero, which in this case is the Tauren Chieftain, and that way he's able to keep it away from the Demon Hunter. And actually, that burn right there was the first burn, I think, that the Demon Hunter's gotten off on the Tauren Chieftain. So if you can fight with thoughts and only ever get one burn, only ever allow the Demon Hunter to get one burn, you're in very, very good shape. And then you're probably focused if you're capable of doing that. I'm definitely not capable of doing that. But anyways, he won the fight pretty steadily, pretty handily. His expansion is up. The next thing he has to do, other than he obviously has to heal, dispel Fairy Fire, but if you click on his Tauren Chieftain, he's very close to level 5. Remember, level 3 and level 5 are the magic levels in the Tauren Chieftain. And I can tell you right now, without ever, if I had never seen this replay, I could tell you right away, his next move will be to get level 5 on the Tauren Chieftain, and then push with his Expo army advantage. So very, very well played by Focus. Again, positioning. He knew the elf was coming. He could have chose to wait and have the same positioning as the first fight, where he had to speed scroll in. Instead, he flanked the elf, which is a very intelligent decision on his part. And was able to very, very easily keep the Demon Hunter at bay and keep him from gaining too much experience on him. One thing I'd like to note, you'll notice, this is for an elf player, a tip for elf players, there's Fairy Fire on the Raiders that just found that Wisp, and Hanf chose not to detonate the Wisp. Detonate is Dispel, remember. It'll remove all the buffs and the debuffs, including Fairy Fire. So there's plenty of ladder games I've played where I'll trick the elf into dispelling Fairy Fire on my raiders for me by pretending to kill a Wisp and having him detonate it to deny me the experience, which is 25 experience, completely negligible. So if you're elf out there in the late game, let the Wisp die if there's Fairy Fire on the units. Just a tip. It's worth it to have vision of them. Anyways, looking at heroes and foods, 58 versus 45. So there's really not a huge food difference like there has been in other games. Certainly Focus definitely has the advantage, as he should. He's won every fight, and he's got the expansion up. And he's got map control. All very good things. But at the same time, the elf's definitely leveled considerably. He's also got Fairy Dragons out now. One of the nice things about this part of the game for the Orc player, you can't really scout as well with the Blade Master due to the fact that he has Hawk on his Beastmaster constantly. But you can use your Bat Riders to patrol the tree lines and get a pretty good idea of where he is without him knowing where you are. So you see in this fight, he's able to create an ideal fight for him where he gets a Creep Jack. Notice how well he kept the DH ensnared, and then when the DH got near the Tauren Chieftain, he just used an invulnerability potion. So I think he's gotten every single wave off on that Tauren Chieftain. And if you can get more than 2 or 3 waves off of the level 5 Tauren Chieftain, dots are not going to hold up. Not going to hold up at all. So that's a pretty handily won fight on Focus's part, 61 versus 25 food now. He barely lost anything. And that's, I mean, often people tell me, when I watch pro replays, it seems that either the Orc loses or